happen to be recording this tutorial at quite an interesting moment. If I just check my calendar, look, you guys can't quite see this, but just above the line where I'm recording it says that right now is the 30th of June. The 30th of June 2020, and that doesn't matter from the perspective of when you watch this tutorial. You might be watching it in 2020, in 2024, who knows, but right now it's the 30th of June 2020. And the point I want to make to you is this, is that today is 100 days since, I live in the south of England, 100 days since lockdown from the COVID-19 pandemic and the lockdown. Now, I don't know how this develops long term, but one of the things we can say about this point is for the last 100 days, people have been in isolation, only socialising within their family units. We're just starting to sort of break free from that right now in these days. I mean, I've got some time with extended family in the coming days, for example, to stress that. And the point I want to make to you is that it's never, ever been clearer that social interaction is essential for human beings. Okay, and I cannot stress that enough. We have seen in recent weeks and months, whether it's recent for you or into the future, we have seen in recent months that people don't cope when they don't have social interactions with others, and it brings up all kinds of problems. I don't want to go into it now, but there are some real issues there. So what we're going to do really is within that context, we are going to talk about the benefits of good social health. Okay, I guess it's having good networks, of having friends, of having connections with others, and so on. So we're going to look at the benefits, and in a moment I'm going to look at the consequences of not having that. Now, obviously I've mentioned the COVID thing there, which is not uninteresting in itself, but of course what we're saying here is that things like sports networks and teams and clubs, they can bring this for you if people engage with them. So what would happen if that's the case? Well, first of all, people become confident, okay, or more confident. Well, what do they become more confident in? They become confident in meeting people. And this might seem like a very sort of subtle and unimportant thing, but actually, when you come back to this point, when you come back to the soft skill that this is, developing into a new team, starting a new job, going to a new school or college, attending university, this becomes a really, really, really important skill in life in all of its facets. And people that can't do this, we tend to notice of someone who is hyper kind of introverted and really struggles with this. It tends to be quite clear to people when this happens, right? So sport and clubs can be a way of doing that. Now, I want to be clear here. Some people might really struggle with this from a health perspective. I mean, like from a certain condition perspective. I'm not talking about that, okay? We also say that people become confident in making new friends. I mean, it's all that confident making new friends. I mean, it's almost the same point, right? But this, of course, is a great life skill. If you travel, if you live somewhere new, if you attend a new job, this becomes essential to happiness, right? So it's a really, really positive thing. We also find that generally speaking, that people will develop what we call self-belief in cooperating. Now, let's just think about the word cooperation. This is the capacity to contribute to a team, to contribute one's ideas, to listen to others, to be led, to lead. It's all those things. But also, it's the belief, what we're saying here is that the cooperation is a good thing to achieve. And not all people actually would believe that in all circumstances. That's an interesting one. This, again, is built on the same principle. We're saying here that people with good social health, they will have self-belief in working with others. Okay? The idea that collaboration is a positive thing, that it can move you somewhere faster, that you can learn from others too. Of course, it makes perfect sense. And finally, guys, this one's an interesting one. Good social health will encourage someone towards motivation to participate and compete in life. Interesting statement. I mean, I guess if we step back from what I've just said here, let's take the compete part of this. I mean, we live in a capitalistic environment. It is a competition-based situation. You guys are going to sit in your exams, and effectively it's competition, right? So good social health, the point is that it can adjust us to be able to, as it were, find motivation to do those things and to compete and to move forward. Now, let's go into the dark side of this, not in the Star Wars sense, but we are going to talk here about the consequences of neglecting social health. So if social health is neglected, okay, what might we anticipate? And by the way, with neglected, I guess it's notions of ignored, allowed to be negative, to not develop networks, these sorts of things. So first things first, we would expect someone to have a down arrow decreased mental health. Okay, so people basically are less happy, and we've seen this in this COVID thing, when they're isolated. I mean, that seems clear. Are clubs, activities, exercise groups, are they one potential remedy for that? I mean, take the COVID thing out of it, one might argue yes. Down arrow, decrease in self-belief. Someone might begin to believe that they're not likable, that they're not popular, that they're not good. This is an issue for people. That in turn might lead to a down arrow, decrease in that was meant to be the L, in self-esteem. Someone's self-perception might suffer as a result of this. We might expect also that someone would have a decreased down arrow in confidence, okay, and that could be global confidence, but I want to be specific. Confidence to embrace challenges. So someone might be less likely to take on a challenge because they don't have this social network. I mean, it's also practical, right? You don't have people to bounce things off from and therefore to receive feedback and guidance. And then finally, guys, we might expect down a decrease in something like physical health. Someone might end up being more sedentary because they're not meeting people, they're not interacting, and so on. So physical health could decrease. And guys, finally, and we're painting a pretty unpleasant picture, I think, we might have an increase, which you might think is the positive one, but no, we might have an increase in stress. And we've spoken about in other tutorials the impact that stress can have on people, and that release of adrenaline, it can cause heart problems and so on and so on. So chronic stress is really not a good thing, and by all means should be avoided. We want to eliminate chronic stress if at all possible. But of course, what we're saying here is that neglecting social health will promote stress in someone, and therefore this could have negative health connotations. Thanks.